Welcome to the channel. I'm Ertzi and today we're gonna do a video on how I draw faces. So we're just gonna delve in the proportions and some shortcuts I take and how I view the face for the reference. This is the reference we'll be using, by the way. I will put this up on the screen, the whole drawing process. This is my sketchbook that I'm gonna use. It's just gonna be an easy 30-minute drawing session and I'll take you along the way of all of it. I'm gonna use my pink pencil. It's my favorite shade, but also had some good strong pigment to it. In contrast to a yellow, maybe I wouldn't recommend doing that. We're gonna start off by sharpening our pencil. It's really important so you can maintain light, not so pigmented lines when you use a light hand, but also a really detailed and sharp edge when you need to for more pigment. So first we're going to hold our pencil not close to the tip, but far off. This ensures a more airy feeling when you're drawing. And make sure you don't put that much pigment down. So make sure to keep your hand light when doing this. We're going to start off with the circle. This is the base of the head. From there, we're going to draw a line down the middle, so everything is symmetrical, and we can decide our proportions from here. We lightly sketching the cheekbones and the jaw, and for this, we mainly pay attention to our reference. So, two things to remember here are important. Make sure the lines always go into the chin, and where the cheekbones are, after the cheekbones, the lines go inwards to the face again. Then we search the middle of the entire face from the chin to the top of the head, and this is where the eye line is going to be. The eye line is the most important proportion to go off on, because some people do eyebrows, but eyebrows can change the position on the face when different emotions are made. So always make sure to go off from the eyes. The top of the ears are around the eye line when we look from a eye line viewing perspective to the person that we are drawing. So we just sketch the shape of them in lightly. Then on the middle of the eye line and the chin is the bottom of the nose. And on the middle of the bottom of the nose and the chin is the bottom of the lip. And of course, every face varies slightly from these proportions, but this is just the standard that you go off on. We're gonna start off with the nose, and we're just gonna draw a little circle for the middle and draw in the nostrils. And again, make sure everything is really lightly. This isn't gonna be the final drawing. We'll do the details later, but you just see it as mapping out a sketch before the entire sketch is finished. Then we'll start off with the lips, and I like to use oval shapes to decide the bottom lip first, and then afterwards the upper lip, which I pay real close attention to the cupid's bow. That's where I start off on to make sure that's in the middle, and then draw symmetrical lines for the lips, the bow of the lip. Then we just sketch in the slight opening of the mouth we can see in the image, and a small indication of the teeth. We can see she has a bit of a gap between the teeth, so I put that in. And then it's time to start with the eyes. I always make sure to draw a circle in the middle of the face, and then draw two circles of the same size besides that, because the rule is that between the two eyes there is always the empty space is the same size as the actual eye. So this is a nice way to maintain that. Then I just put small dots for the corner of the eyes so they are lined up, and then we just sketch in the upper bow. And what you can see here is that I'm doing things simultaneously. So when I do the line of the upper eyelid on one side, I also do it on the other. This makes sure that things keep looking symmetrical. With eyes, it's really important to see the difference in the reference between the upper eyelid line and the lower, like the bottom eyelid line. So this is where you really get the character from. And then we just put in the definition of the eyelids. Sometimes this isn't there, but sometimes it is. Then again, the irises we do simultaneously so we can keep this symmetry in. And I define this a bit more so they're the same size. And then we measure out where the eyebrows are going to be. So I'm just going to start off with a line where the nose bridge kind of ends, and then a line drawing from the nostril to the outer side of the iris up to the eyebrow. That is where the arch is going to be. And then I just draw the ends in. You can see again, everything is simultaneously. This is so important when you're drawing a face from a front view perspective. That is my best tip that I can give. I'm just sketching in the eyebrows lightly, see the shape that I want. I'll make them a bit bigger in the process, I think. And I always keep looking at my reference, what I think needs changing so that it will look more like the character I'm trying to create. And this is not always the way you can view drawing from a reference. You can also use the reference as how to draw the lighting or how to draw certain features from different angles. But today I'm really trying to capture the essence of the person I'm drawing. And now we're just really getting into the defining of the face. So there are like a couple of lines here, like the cheekbones and the jawline and the chin, focus on that. And now it's all really definition. So I'm starting off with the nostrils again and mapping some shadow areas out. So you can see always on the bottom of the nose there's a little triangle. So you can see the nose out of a triangle and a circle, and the triangle is where the shadow is. You can see me draw that later. I'm just defining the ears here a bit, and I always with ears just look at the reference because ears can vary so much in what they look like. You can see me stopping to draw sometimes to really look at what I want to portray. All the footage is in real time. Now you can see that the ears are not symmetrical, and I'm measuring it with my pencil. So I want to make sure the bottom of the ear and the top of the ear are on the same line. So you can see me measuring that out here. So I'm just making a few small changes to make it a bit better. And that's one thing I also like about working with color pencil, because it's not such as a commitment as drawing with like ink or like a ballpoint pen, because then there's nothing to erase, but it also gives you a bit more to hold on to than a regular graphite pencil, because that you can easily just erase. And with color pencil you can erase a bit, but never everything. So you have to commit a bit. I'm drawing in like the collarbones and the neckline now. I usually for the neck I just do like the shadow underneath the chin to imply more depth. I'll define this later. And two inverting lines to show the muscles. And then just the collarbones, which are literally just 2 lines. We're gonna work on the hair now, because that's the last thing to do. I usually do the hair line with 2 double lines to lay emphasis on that there is empty space, which people quite often forget, and I like to have that in my drawings. I'm keeping a really loose end here, and really thinking about the gravity and the flow of the hair and how it wraps around the head, but also seeing where I can add some volume, and I usually do that at the bottom. So thinking about where can my lines go inward and where can they go outward, and just kind of following the shape of the head and how it falls around there. And now you can see we basically have the whole face laid out, and all there is to do is define everything, and that is really the fun part, because you can just go off your sketch that you already made and see everything come together. Again, I sharpened my pencil here, so you can see the light lines I made before I can now define with the same type of sharpness I had. And the way I hold my pencil is really weird, and I shouldn't be doing it like this, but this is also how I write. It isn't the best for my hands, but I teach myself to make defined lines like this. You can see I go over the lines a couple of times, and sometimes I don't even draw the line the first time I make the movement. And that is really a tip I can give. Before you put a line down on the paper, make an imaginative line. This is also when starting with your drawing, so laying out the basic shapes. It just gives you the feel of where you want to put down your line, and kind of gives you that movement which you can hold on to. My shading is really easy for simple sketches like this. It's just straight lines, and that's all there is to it. So we're implying some depth underneath the collarbone. I'm kind of fading out the bottom of the drawing, so I'm not defining that as much. You can see my reference. There's much more depth to it and much more difference in lighting, but I decided to keep that out for today. Then we're going into the shading of the lips, and one thing that is really important to keep in mind with this is the darkest part of the lips is always the line between the bottom and the upper lip, or if it's open, just the ending of the upper lip and the bottom lip, and the corners of the mouth. So it's really important to make those really defined. And then, really important, which I already drew here, is the bottom of the shading underneath the bottom lip, because this implies the depth of where the chin is, and that the lip is standing outward and is not just a flat surface on the face, which is a bit darker. And then for the two parts of the lip itself, in normal daylight scenarios, the bottom lip is always darker than the upper lip. And there is also a bit of shade from the inside of the mouth on the lips. So to really imply that volume and that depth, go from the inner parts of the lip and keep the most like shading there, and then go lighter outwards and add some juicy highlights if you want to. But here you can see when I'm coloring in the top lip, it's gonna be darker than the bottom lip because it stands outward a bit more. And again, this is a normal daylight and not implying light coming from anywhere else. And that's is just something if you wanna follow that. You can see this is the sharpness of my pencil now, and what I usually do is just like how I just did, is put it on my hand a bit, because that ensures that my pencil, the sharpest point, doesn't break. And you can see I just wiped away the excess, because it did happen when I applied too much pressure and my pencil is really sharp, like the top point breaks a bit. And what you can also see is me turning my pencil a lot, like small movements of me turning the point of my pencil, and that is me looking for the sharpest point, like the sharpest point of the rotation of the pencil. So I'll be turning it a lot as I draw. Now again, for like the depth and the most darkest areas on a face, that is the end of the nostrils, and the nostrils itself are usually pretty dark, and of course like the corners of the mouth and the inside of the mouth and the shadow of the upper eyelid, but we'll get into that. I'm just giving a bit of shading to the nose bridge. It goes inward a bit below the eyebrows, so I'm shading that here. Then I'm defining a bit of the point of the nose and making it a bit cutesy and round. And then we're starting off with detailing the eyes, and you can see I'm working on the line of the upper eyelid. And this is usually a really dark area because of the shadow and the lashes that are also there. Just defining the lines you have put down earlier and putting in some more details you haven't yet, like defining the corners of the eye. When shading the eye, it's important to know that the outer line of the iris, so that's the color part of your eye, is really dark compared to the inner color of your eye. And we'll put in a small highlight and then shade in the entire eye for the impression of the brown color. It depends on which color the eye is and how dark this is. We'll put in the pupil, which is again a really dark area on the face, and then we shade in the part underneath the eyelid. This is a really important step which a lot of people forget, but key in making sure that you can see that the eyeball is round and that the eyelid is falling on top of the eye. And then you also do that shadow on the whites of the eye to maintain this consistency, so you can see that the whites of the eye and the iris are all part of one, like eyeball. And drawing in some small bottom lashes and also the upper lashes, defining the eyelid more, the eyelid fold. And fun fact about me, I really don't like drawing lashes. It seems that a lot of artists enjoy drawing lashes, but I don't know, it's just something. They're gonna look spidery when I draw them, so maybe just something I need to practice more. For the eyebrows, I start off by making vertical lines and then slowly convert them into horizontal lines, because that's how the growing pattern of the real eyebrow is. So first up and then horizontal, and then go diagonal to the bottom a bit for the arch. This way it maintains that flow of the natural growth of the hairs. I'm just adding in some depth of the eye bags. And you can see again, when I'm doing this really light shading, I hold my pencil differently than for the details. I hold it more far from the tip and hold my pencil more parallel to the paper. So when I do the details, you can see that the tip is really almost at a 90 degree angle, between 45 and 90 degree angle of the paper. But when I do this shading, it is a really low angle between the pencil and the paper itself. I'm making some impression of depth on the jawline and the chin, and also around the corners of the mouth. So really look at your reference here to see where you want to place the lighting. In my reference, you can see that the lighting was a bit more dramatic than I am sketching in my actual drawing, but I want to make this more of an impression in how it would be in normal daylight. So I kind of stuck to that. To give the chin more of an outwardly feeling, I also shade around from the mouth down, from the mouth corners down. And also the smile lines, I'll give some light shading, so the cheeks will look more plump. And then to make sure that the cheekbones really pop out, like where you would put a highlight when painting, you kind of put more shadow around the outsides of the eye. Then we're on to defining the ears, and again, like I said, I really just pay attention to the reference, but my usual thing is that it's just gonna be really dark between the outside ring of the eye of the of the ear, and just really doing a variation of different tones of light in here is really important. It doesn't always have to be perfect like in your reference. When you give the impression of depth of lines, then it can just look like an ear. And then we're on to the final part again, which is the hair, and we are defining it. I'm really putting down almost the same lines here, but again with more detail. I'm using really big lines for this, and to achieve this, you really need to put your wrist in it, because you don't want to be dragging your hand across the paper for longer lines. You want to make it like a flick of your wrist to achieve a more flowiness if you want longer lines. I'm doing some impressions of hair parts falling and some hair strands. I I don't want to make every strand of hair visible. That is totally not what we want to be achieving. And it's also gonna look a bit uncanny and not fitting. So don't try to make every hair strand noticeable. See the hair more just as different blocks and different parts which flow together. And I'm really lazy with my hair shading. I'm just gonna give it just a wash of one color to make it stand out from the face. And the only thing I'm doing here is giving it a bit more shading around the ear area, so you can see it goes behind the ear and besides the neck area, so you can see it goes more around the neck, like inward, that she also has hair behind her head. And that is like the only shading I do for the hair. It's really nothing much to it. And what's important here is that you blend out the more rough parts, which you want darker, with the lighter parts. Oh, you can see here my pencil broke because I sharpened it a bit too much. But how you can make sure that the light parts and the darker parts blend in nicely is the pressure you put onto the paper with your pencil. Just go from the darker area when you're pushing a bit harder and like travel into the lighter area, but when you do that, slowly like relieve the pressure while you're moving those like up and down strokes. I'm giving some more shading around the hairline to imply that it goes inwards there a bit, to give that volume to the hair. And now I'm just putting some loose strands around the outer part of the hair to not make it one entire block. And that was it. That is the drawing, and I think it turned out pretty good. There are some imperfections always, but that's okay. And I really hope you enjoyed watching this and that you got something out of it. It's really detailed and a really long video, but this is kind of my thought process when drawing. This took me as long as the video is, so like 30 minutes to draw. And that was all for today, so see you next time. Bye bye.